everyone, and welcome down to episode number 3 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, and this guy, Cameron Blake. Hello, Cam.
Good evening, Brendan. How are you today?
Very well, mate. Very well indeed.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best intros you've done so far, I reckon.
You like that? I've had 3 to practice with so far.
It's been pretty good,
mate. They're not exactly rolling off the tongue, but we'll get there, I'm sure.
That's it.
Now, I know you've had a good week, but we're going to get into that in a minute. But
yes,
I would
absolutely.
like to ask you, where do we find you, good sir?
I am actually in Melbourne now, so I'm not here. I was there. No. I was actually there yesterday morning, so that's we'll talk about that later. But I'm in Melbourne. Actually, come back down today. Got a little bit panicky about what's been going on with these lockdowns. So I thought maybe I'll get close to the boat in case I need to skedaddle back over the ditch back to Tassie. So I'm in Melbourne and just going to wait out and see what happens the next few days. So just at mum and dad's.
Oh, very good. Not a bad idea to get close to the old, what do you call it the other day? The spirit of spew?
The spirit of spew, yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I might even, if I need to go home in a hurry, I'm going to probably look at the weather and just see when the smooth weather is and see if I can book a boat there. But so what are we today? What is the date today? The 29th of June or something like that? So,
we are recording on the 29th of June. That is correct.
So everything's going a little bit crazy around the country at the moment with lockdowns and restrictions and things like that. So, yes, I mean, this is the Down South Photo Show, so we'll try and keep it light, but we do also fully understand and appreciate that there are people around Australia that have just been plunged into lockdown again. Cannot be fun for you guys. I'm in Victoria. We've experienced plenty of them. So our thoughts are with you guys, and look, hopefully it doesn't last too long, and it is the old circuit breaker and things get back to some kind of normality. With any luck, though, if you could call it luck, it'd be nice to see it go at least until this podcast gets released. So people have got something to listen to while they're locked down and bored at home. They can listen to this.
Very selfish of you, Cam, and I love
it. It is selfish. Yeah, that's it. It's all about us. But you're right. Yeah, there's it's just been one of those. The last 18 months has been unreal. So, like I said, you can be anywhere in the country, and all of a sudden, all these decisions come out from government, and you've just got to do what's best for yourself and your businesses and your family, and just get yourself sorted. So hopefully, exactly right. Like you said, hopefully it's only a couple of days and things go back to whatever normal is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are a bit sick of the old, preparing for the worst and hoping for the best, and trying to make decent plans for travel. I know I'm keen to get myself up to Queensland in the next few weeks, but that's looking more and more unlikely by the hour, which is a real bummer. But that's the world we live in at the moment, and so be it. So I think we should do a little bit of chat about photography. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be a good circuit breaker for all the other bad stuff we listen in the media every day. And I was listening to the radio today on the way back in the car, and it's just doom and gloom. Yeah, blame games. Let's not do this. Let's do this. So let's talk about photography, because photography is always fairly inspirational and happy and lighthearted. So let's forget the other crap and let's get on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to kick off now for those of you listening in your cars, or as I know one of you is doing a workout at the moment listening to this.
Right.
Well, we might paint a bit of a picture, Cam, as to your background, because this is what you've been up to this week.
Yes. So my background is from the Flinders Ranges. So for the last 4 and a bit days, I've been traveling around this amazing country on the Big Island. So I've come from the Little Island and having a look around the Big Island. So I've been up went via Renmark up in South Australia, Victoria border. And
now, then I saw your awesome photo from Renmark on Instagram. That in itself looked worth the drive.
It was really good, and it was one of those sort of sunsets where I thought, I'll go have a look and see what's going to happen. And I just found this little lookout spot that I actually didn't find when I was looking anyway. I sort of stumbled across it, and the sun and the light was just perfect. So I was a little bit jealous. There were some people on a houseboat down the river. You could hear them cracking tinnies and having a barbecue and having a great time. And I'm up the top taking photos. So it was really nice. And then from Renmark, I drove on to the Flinders Ranges and stayed at Wilpena Pound. Thanks to the people at Wilpena Pound Resort. Amazing people there. Got a really, really cool setup with camping and rooms and glamping. And So I stayed there for, was it 3 or 4 nights, and pretty much just scouting around the whole ranges, intending to run a workshop there next June. So same time of year, thought I'd better get out there at the same time of the year and same weather. And yeah, it was great. Really, really great spot. And even if you're not a photographer, if it's just your family or your couple or your partner or something like that, it'd be a great place to go for a 4 or 5 day holiday. It's an amazing place. And yeah, the shot behind me, that was yesterday morning. And that was actually just before I went on a scenic flight. I got up too early, funnily enough. And I went out there, and this little tree I'd scouted out the day before, and decided I'll go out there for the morning and take a shot. -3 degrees. It was a bit chilly, but it worked. It had some beautiful blue hour light and nice sort of foreground subject. And yeah, it happened. It worked.
Yeah, fantastic. Those Xanthorrhoeas, I believe they're known as, they just look amazing. Particularly, I'm pretty sure that you've captured that one in flower.
Oh, right. What are they called again?
Xanthorrhoeas with an X.
Xanthorrhoeas. Oh, is that okay? Right.
Yep.
I would have just called it a grass tree myself.
Yeah. Well, I think grass tree they're more commonly known as, but yeah, I think they're from the Xanthorrhoea family at least.
Yeah,
what I know, I don't know. I take photos.
Yeah. Well, if that's when you're saying they're in flower, a few people saw the photos I had from up there, and they were pretty much blown away by how lush it was, how green it was.
Yes.
So there's a few people I know who go out there regularly, and they said it just seemed to be really green. And like first time I've been there, so I was none the wiser. But yeah, it's some really interesting plants and amazing rock formations, and some really cool. I was really impressed with the gorges, all the little rivers and these huge river gums all along these little amazing gorges. Was really cool. So yeah, it was good. I had a really good time, and I was actually going to stay there a couple more days and sort of work my way up to Lake Eyre and have a look around there as well. But yeah, like we said earlier, had to do the sensible thing and get back to maybe where I need to go home. So
yeah, well, you definitely did the right thing there. But just getting back to your comment about how green it is out there, I think definitely within the last 20 years, this would be the greenest I've ever seen southeastern Australia.
Yeah, okay.
We've had a power of rain and a lot more coming apparently as well. Particularly to the southeastern parts of Queensland and northern New South Wales next week as well. So, which is I think a bit unusual for winter as well. So it's all part of the landscape photography journey, I guess, and that's keeping an eye on what the weather patterns are doing. And of course, absolutely. Now, Cam, next time you head out to the Flinders Ranges, which may very well be when you're running a workshop, you'll probably see the place will look quite different. You'll get subtle colour changes, and of course the greenery probably won't be there. So in some ways, you've probably been quite lucky.
Well, I think I sort of got that impression when I was talking to the guys who worked at the resort. They sort of you could sort of feel they were quietly happy about how green it was and how different it was to normal. So again, that's the beauty of going to certain locations, like even, for example, Cradle Mountain. I go Cradle Mountain autumn every year, and it's different every year. Like the changing of the colour is different. So, but I think the good thing about the Flinders Ranges is I think it wouldn't matter what time of year it was. I think it'd be an amazing place to shoot. Obviously, the heat would get pretty intense there as well, but there's lots and lots of stuff to shoot, whether or not you're shooting sort of micro landscapes or more wide landscapes or telephoto or whatever it might be. So yeah, it was really good. And like I said, hopefully get out there next June for a workshop. I've already pretty much got enough interest to run another one as well. So thinking I might even try and run one maybe in September when the wildflowers are out up there as well.
Well, now you're talking.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just the time of year just can add a lot of scope to the area. I mean, wildflowers, I mean, who wouldn't want to see that anyway? But just to be a part of it and see it, because I think that's the other great thing about going on a photography workshop that you might run is that, you just put yourself into these great locations anyway.
Yeah.
Now you could, and you're at the mercy of the weather. I mean, you could get, touch wood, but you could get 3 or 4 days of rain, but you're still going to be in a fantastic location. And just to see the Flinders Ranges with wildflowers, now that'd be something pretty special.
Yeah, and I love, call me a bit strange, but I love to be you're
a bit strange.
Yeah, I'm a bit strange, yeah. Clearly anyone that's met me already knows that. But I always like to say, don't be a fair weather photographer. So don't, if it's raining or a bit moody or a bit crazy weather, that's generally where I get best of my shots from is where Mother Nature's thrown up a bit of a curveball, and you've sort of got to think outside the box, and you got to look a little bit smarter at what you're composing and things like that. So we might get up there and we might get 4 or 5 days of rain, but that might then create waterfalls off the side of the mountains and might put water in the rivers. That only happens every now and then. That's right. You get those little beautiful droplets off the grass behind me and things like that. So there's lots of benefits as well. So, but you're right. Yeah, landscape photography is really all about. To me, I think it's almost all about the weather. Really, if you can get a really good sunset or sunrise or something interesting like a big snowstorm or a big thunderstorm or something like that, it just adds to your photos. So I think don't sit inside when the weather's gone a bit pear-shaped. Plan ahead and trying to be out safely in it. Tripods are quite a good conductor, so if don't be too silly about going out in thunderstorms and things like that. But
so I've always in my little workshops, I've always said to people, we run a little section on photographing lightning, and always tip number 1: check your life insurance policy.
Absolutely.
And see if you can sit in your car and let your camera do the job for you. That's normally works best for me. But we digress. That could be a whole other podcast.
It could be
shooting lightning and shooting weather events.
I've got a little story, tiny little story about lightning.
Go on then.
Lightning. So I was up in Darwin, up in the Northern Territory, with a good mate of mine. His name's Cam as well, from Hobart, another great photographer. And we went to Kakadu one night. We actually went into Darwin for 10 days to chase storms. And we went out to Kakadu and we had our tripods set up on this beautiful rock and there's lightning bolts going off in the distance. And we're sitting there thinking, how good is this? This is perfect. Anyway, people started to leave and we're like, oh, we're not leaving. This whole shelf cloud was moving in. It was really cool. And then the ranger comes running in. He goes, you guys have got to get off this rock. You've got to get off this rock. We're like, what? What are you talking about? There's this amazing storm going on. And he goes, do you know what this whole area is made of? Because you're standing on like the biggest conductor in the world. Like this is all iron ore. You get out of there, get out of there. And we both looked at each other like, oh yeah, okay. We need to get out of here. So we packed up and it was like Armageddon. On the way back, we had torrential sheets of rain, lightning bolts hitting the side of the road. It was just incredibly crazy. Awesome. So yeah, but listen to the ranger. If they tell you to get off the metallic rock, get off the rock.
Probably best that you do what you're told in that kind of situation.
Yeah, like we were happy to spend a time there and we're happy to take the risk. But as soon as he sort of mentioned what the earth was made out of that we're standing on.
Was that at Ubir Rock?
It was 100%.
Yes, yeah. There you are.
There you go.
Been there a long time ago, and I've got this knack for remembering names. But it's UBIR Rock.
I think it's UBIRR.
Oh, there you go. Well,
very good.
Awesome. So better jot that down. We will talk about photographing lightning or weather events in a future podcast for sure.
How's your week been? Since I've been away, you've been busy or not busy? Or?
Look, business as usual this week. We've been busy in both shops, Ocean Grove and Torquay. We've been printing a lot of photos. We've been doing some canvas shots for people. Last week, I think I mentioned on the Monday, we had some whales off the coast. You might remember me mentioning that.
Yeah.
And
did they come into your store?
They did. They did. No, Cameron, they didn't do that. But Monday is always the day that I work the Ocean Grove shop on my own, and I'm kind of stuck there. I can't really get out. Right? And of course, yesterday we had some of the biggest swell come through the area, in ages. And it always seems to be on a day where I can't get out there, and it's so frustrating. So to those of you around the Bellarine Peninsula and the Surf Coast that managed to get out and get some cool shots of the half-decent swell we had coming through, good luck to you. And hopefully next time you'll see me out there chasing some awesome surf photos as well. So
is that that's a pretty big surf coast down that way, isn't it?
Oh, well, home to the world
Bells Beach and stuff like
Bells
that.
Beach, that's right. So rode my bike along the cliffs of Bells Beach last weekend. It's a fantastic spot. Bells is a wonderful location for photography, for all kinds of photography. One good thing to note, it's not a state park or a national park. So you can fly your drone there as well.
That's
so
cool.
you can get some really cool overhead sort of surf crashing on rocks, that kind of stuff is very, very popular down there, all along that coast, all the way down to, well, it is technically the start of the Great Ocean Road there. And when the swell's up, it's magic. You get the proper lineup, so you get the rows.
They're stacked all the way out.
Correct. And it goes,
cool.
and it can go right out to the horizon. You can get these magnificent lines. And next week I might mention a very, very good photographer based down that way who will be tuning in. So we'll talk about him and what he does down that way.
Yeah, cool.
I've also been hard at work preparing to launch dates for my workshops as well, my in-store workshops, which are the small, my workshops are at the smaller end insofar as they're a 2-hour workshop that are held in my store. And we've got our introductory SLR workshop coming back, our intermediate workshop, and then our landscapes and seascapes workshop, which will come back hopefully closer to spring, which is a 3-hour workshop where we do an hour and a half on site, and then we go out in the field as well. But
how good is it when you have a backyard, especially down where you are as well? Like you've got the store to have people beat up and chat, get everything sorted, and then you can literally just walk out the back of your shop and you've got one of the best coastlines in Australia. Like that's got to be pretty handy.
Very lucky, very, very lucky. And the handful of times I've run the seascapes and landscapes workshop, we've nailed the weather. Like we've had some really awesome weather. We had one where a storm came through.
Perfect.
And of course we had this massive rainbow happen, which was, and people were like, did you organize this?
How did you manage that?
Yes, I'm good, but I'm not that good. So that's been my week. But running the shops, and of course school holidays has kicked off now, so there's a few more people about. Again, Victoria is not in lockdown at the moment, so we're getting the benefit of a few people heading down from Melbourne town, Geelong, of course, heading down our way. So that's keeping us nice and busy.
Yeah, cool, interesting. Oh, good luck with the workshops. Hopefully, I'm sure they'll fill up as always. But we'll launch all the info on the website cameraandphoto.com.au, but I'll put a link to that at some point. And I thought we might just quickly mention what we're going to be talking about as our main topics tonight. And the two main topics we're going to cover tonight are the right gear for landscape photography. Excuse me. COVID.
And we're also going to be talking about the magic of Blue Hour, which hopefully not many of you are overly familiar with, but we'll touch on that in a moment. Cool. But the right gear for landscapes, Cam, that's a very, very broad subject, and we're not going to obviously be able to tackle absolutely everything.
No.
But I think it might be a good spot to kick off a discussion about the equipment that you're using.
Yeah, I was thinking about this before we went on. I'm thinking what we could maybe do, because we both obviously shoot landscapes, and I'm sure everyone shoots a little bit differently. But I thought what we might be able to do, just so it doesn't go for 1,600 hours, is maybe come up with maybe 3 essential items or 3 essential things that we use for our landscape photography shots all the time. And see if they're the same. You might have different things as compared to me, but we could go on for hours about what lenses and cameras and tripods and stuff you use like that. But so I'm thinking with what I shoot, definitely, and this is something that I get a lot of people on my workshops asking about, is do I need a tripod? And for me, landscape photography, it's all about that sharpness and that that steadiness, and not sort of you can obviously shoot on the fly as you go along, but the idea is to really set yourself up, get yourself in the right spot, wait for that right bit of light, and using a tripod just allows you to drop those shutter speeds down, drop the ISO down, and really get a steady sort of work platform. So to me, as much as I hate tripods, and anyone's done a workshop with me, I hate tripods. If you're not getting blood blisters from standing your fingers in the clips or jamming your fingers there, or they're falling over or whatever.
Not to mention carrying the bloody thing.
As well. So tripod to me is very essential. Second bit of gear I think is a really, really important for landscape photography, and it's one of the relatively cheaper bits of gear to buy, which I'm still surprised at how many people don't actually have them, and that's a circular polarizer filter.
Yes.
So circular polarizing filter, for those who may be new to landscape, is just a circular filter on the front that spins around and polarizes the light. So it either polarizes it or unpolarizes it. So that's where you get your really nice big deep blue skies, takes reflections out of all the foliage and, for example, sands and, trees and ocean and all those kind of things. And it just gives you a bit more contrast, a bit more color to your shots. But I'm blown away by how many people come along. It's like, have you got a polarizing filter? It's like, oh, I don't even know what that is. I've got $1,000 worth of other filters, but I don't have a polarizing filter. So that'd be my second thing. And then the third thing I think is super important for landscape photography would probably be, and it's a bit of a funny one, but to me, it's actually the bag that you carry your gear in. I find, and I'm still yet to get a bag that I'm really, really happy with. I use the F-Stop gear bags. They've got like removable inserts that you can put into backpacks. They're a bit more hiking like backpacks. But for years and years and years, I've gone through that many different camera bags and never been comfortable with either the setup, the way the zips work, the compartments, the straps. Like it's got to be right. If sometimes you're walking a little bit down the beach, or you might walk up a mountain or whatever, having a good bag, I think just takes that little bit of stress out of you, that you put your bag down, you know where everything is, and away you go.
Absolutely.
So that'd be like, that's 3 of 1,000 things that you could probably use. But to me, they're the 3 things that I sort of cherish, I guess, when I go out. So I've got a tripod I know how to use. I've got my circular polarizer on every lens, and I've got a bag that's not going to do my head in if I'm walking more than a couple hundred meters.
Yep. Fantastic. I'm going to expand a little bit on your talk of tripods, because, I mean, without question, for me, a good tripod is 100% essential for any landscape photographer. And the reason I think you've got to have a good tripod is, most of the time, it's not always, and I love breaking rules in photography, but most of the time you are going to be working at a fairly high aperture number. In other words, you're going to be shutting your lens down because you're going to want to have so much in focus, which will generally slow your shutter speed anyway. And I always, for me, and this is personal preference, but if I see a shutter speed that dips below 1/100th of a second, I'm going to need some stability. I don't care how steady you think your hand is. I always believe that, getting in the habit of putting your camera on a tripod as soon as you see your shutter speed drop below 1/100th of a second is crucial. And for all the same reasons that Cam mentioned, I hate them for the same reasons, but I've got some shots that I know would be impossible without a tripod. And a quick little anecdote as well. So when I first moved to the Bellarine Peninsula quite some time ago, I had a little baby as well, and time was pretty hectic when we moved here. And one morning I shot out. I went to sort of get some sunrise shots down at Point Lonsdale, which again we'll come back to and talk about Point Lonsdale in a future episode. The Point Lonsdale jetty is famous for its photos, and it was a magnificent sunrise. And I got out of the car all excited. No tripod. So
did you use your baby as a tripod?
I wanted to, but luckily she was home sound asleep.
Right.
So I literally built a pile of rocks on the beach and set my camera on top of that, and got a ripping photo, which I will overlay onto this. So, cool. Well, the photo I really like. It's 15 years old, but it was a cool shot. But yeah, tripod, absolute essential piece of kit for a landscape photographer. So if you haven't got one, get one. You can spend as little as $100 on a tripod if you want. I would highly recommend, though, getting yourself something stable. There's plenty of good brands out there. We're not sponsored, so I'm not going to mention any of them. I've got a very good Manfrotto tripod that is pushing 14 years old. And it's an absolute tank, and I love it. And it can bounce around in the back of my van or the back of the ute. And I've treated it like absolute dirt. It's been in salt water, completely under salt water. Took it home, hosed it off, still works an absolute treat. So it weighs a ton, but I love that because for that stability, like I was talking about before. So number one piece of kit for me is definitely my tripod. I mean, this is obviously aside from the camera and your lenses, but
of course. I
don't think I think that's a given. There's really no need for us to go too far in that part. The second piece of kit that it's really something that I've only very, very recently started doing is, believe it or not, my iPhone. And because what it actually can do for me is I can carry it in my pocket, and if I get to a location that I want to shoot, I can very quickly compose shots with the iPhone.
I was going to say, I think I know where you're going with this one, because I do the same thing.
And without, so I might have my gear in my backpack and my tripod, but every time you stop and you want to set up, well, there's 4, 5, 6 minutes of get off your back, unzip this, put that lens on,
jam your finger in the tripod.
All that. Whereas I can actually stand in a spot, grab out my iPhone. I guess it's the modern day equivalent of doing this.
It's of
making the square with your finger and your thumb.
To me, it's the is this a worthy shot tool? That's what I do use the iPhone. I do exactly the same thing. I'm like, okay, this might work. I take a quick shot. Hey, I like it. It's got potential before you, like you said, before you go unpack all your gear. So I do the same thing.
It's great because it gives you that instant feedback on exactly the composition that you're putting together. I also like it because it is so portable. I can hold it close to the ground. I can hold it above my head and take a quick shot and just have a look at the angles and that sort of stuff. And even sometimes just looking at the scene through the phone, you can see compositions that you may not have been, it might not have been instantly aware or available to you just by the naked eye. So
that's a good one. I said, I'm the same. I do it a lot of, and I find I actually, I've got my phone here, even like just holding down low and getting it lower composition, or like I said, up or higher. So and sometimes I've done it with my phone. I'm like, that's going to be a great shot, and I realize my tripod cannot possibly go that high, and I've just made a complete idiot of myself. So No, that's right. And my third piece of kit was sort of twofold, and it's cleaning gear. Taking a very good quality lens cleaning cloth is essential, particularly for me because I shoot a fair bit down by the ocean. And when you shoot at higher aperture numbers, so if you're shooting at, for example, f11 to f22, every single spec comes up in your photo, particularly in your sky areas. So if you've forgotten to wipe the front element of your lens and you're shooting the surf, for example, and you've had a heap of surf spray, well done. You've just made yourself 45 minutes in Photoshop while you're cleaning out all those specs. You've got me looking at my background now to see if there's
any spots right. You're hunting now for specs.
I'm looking around. Yeah, thanks.
I mean, 9 times out of 10, those specs can be on your photo can be caused by a dusty sensor. But if you want to take everything out of the equation, and just wipe the end element of your lens, particularly if it's drizzling rain or, as I say, you're at the beach to prevent those spots. It can make a real difference. There's really, I think, no excuse for having a dirty filter or a dirty end element of your lens just to give it a quick clean. As I say, it just eliminates any issues you're going to have.
100%.
So,
I think also is one thing I find as well is I think people forget that camera gear, it's precision optical gear. Like it needs to be treated with care. And, we all bump our cameras around. We all, get them a bit dirty and a bit wet or whatever else. But I make a habit of it that when I get back home from a shoot, at least take that few seconds just to check the front element, even just check the sensor to make sure it's okay. Check the back screen and the viewfinder, make sure they're all clean and clear of any foggy or crap in there. So, but I think a lot of people just go, it's just a camera. I'll just take the shot and it'll work for me. And then, like you said, they get back on Lightroom or Photoshop and they're there for 48 hours trying to clear dust spots off for the sake of a 5-second clean. Versus another 45 minutes of cleaning stuff on a photo.
Yeah, exactly. And I also find it quite alarming when people come in with we do camera cleaning and servicing and that sort of stuff, but people will come in with, for example, a Canon L series lens, that's worth $2,500-3,000 more. They've got no UV filter on the end of the end of the lens, and they've been cleaning the end element of their L series glass. Now,
with their shirt.
With their beanie. And it's like, now you realize that an end element is actually got special coatings on it to absorb light rather than reflect it. Now, every time you wipe that end element, you are disturbing that surface, and over time, it does wear it off.
Well, it's funny you say that because I had a gentleman on my Bright workshop in May this year. He had a 70-200 L series Canon, and I think he bought it secondhand. And we were doing a shot of Mount Buffalo, shooting at a waterfall off the back of Mount Buffalo. So it was sort of into the sun, but the sun was a bit higher. And you could tell that the coating on the front element had just been wiped off or deteriorated. And it was just the most incredibly bad flare that you could possibly think of. And he put another lens on, and the flare was completely different. Someone else had the same lens, I think. And the fact was that the front element and the coating had obviously deteriorated over time, and it just, he couldn't get the shot. And it was a nice shot, but he just could not get it without it looking like something had exploded in the front of his lens.
Yeah, that's right. And I see it all the time. And what people, I think, forget is a fingerprint on your lens is enough to disturb the light path.
Yeah.
And you will get a light prism, as you say, or some kind of lens flare or something going on that's not quite right.
Yeah.
I would assume it would also probably affect chromatic aberration as well, which was a phrase I said I'd never say on my podcast.
You've done it now.
Sorry.
Yeah. Now I think you should say it at least once every podcast.
It's like I need a chromatic aberration swear jar.
Yeah.
So,
or we'll just put one on that. Did you over your mouth?
That's right. I'll just hold my coffee cup up.
Just not say it all the time. But you are right. Yeah, you're right. It does. People need to really take care of their gear. So if you're listening or watching, when you get off this, don't listen any further. Press pause. Get your lens out right now. Get your cleaning cloth out right now, and just spend 10 minutes cleaning your equipment, and get into the habit of doing that before and after every shoot, and if you need to during, especially like I said, if you're at coastal or a bit of rain, or if you're sitting in the middle of a dust storm, it's not good for lenses and cameras. So.
And I'll go you one better. The first 5 people that comment below, I need a cleaning cloth.
Right.
I will give you a genuine camera and photo cleaning cloth. My cleaning cloths are awesome. Cam, you probably want one as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to comment.
You better comment. No. You can. The first 5 people that say, I need a cleaning cloth, I will get you one way or another a cleaning cloth.
So that's our entire listenership, isn't it? Just send it out anyway.
It is.
Oh, okay. We're doing giveaways. I like it.
Well, spontaneity is good.
Yeah.
And now, while we're at talking about commenting and stuff like that, just a quick comment about how the new YouTube channel's going. We've hit 50 subscribers, Cameron.
Ka-ching, raise the bat. Well,
I mean,
halfway.
This YouTube thing's a walk in the park, right?
50. Yeah. Well, I've already handed in my resignation to my boss, saying I'm now a celebrity. So he also told me to shut up and get back to work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, it's good. It's great that people are watching, and I think our first episode had almost 300 people watch it. I think the second episode's going really well as well. So it's just lovely that people are spending the time, and hopefully what we're crapping on about every week is resonating, and hopefully people are learning stuff as they go along.
Absolutely. So while you're commenting below, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It is free to subscribe, and get on board. Hit the notification bell as well, so you get a little message when our videos and podcasts go live. Moving along.
Just means we're to come back next week. It encourages us to keep going.
It does. And, not that we need much encouragement. Would probably do this if it was just you and I listening to it.
It may end up like that.
Yes. So that covers off a little bit of gear. If you've got any questions about that, also send us a little message or put a comment below. If you've got any questions about gear, we will come backwards and forwards with gear throughout episodes as we go. It's a plethora. It's a Pandora's box.
It is. We're just scratching the surface of what gear, the right gear for landscapes. There's 30 episodes on that. Yes.
So I would like to talk about our next topic, which was, I wanted to talk about Blue Hour and what Blue Hour is, what it means. I think a lot of people out there would know already what Golden Hour is. If you are watching this on YouTube, you can see the photo behind me was taken at Golden Hour. Golden Hour is generally the hour before sunset and the hour after sunrise. So in other words, from the instant the sun appears on the horizon till it's about an hour into the sky, or vice versa, an hour before sunset and then when the sun goes down. So Blue Hour, what is that all about? Well, Blue Hour, if you, Cameron's got a Blue Hour photo behind him at the moment, but we'll also put up a few more examples of Blue Hour. What Blue Hour is, basically the photo that Cameron's got there was taken in the shadow of the Earth. So if you have a look at a photo that was taken in Blue Hour, you will see the horizon generally gets broken up into a deep or a darker blue closer to the horizon and then you'll have your lighter color palette above that. Now, that might be a pink sky. It depends on your conditions, of course, but generally speaking, you will get that breakdown of a deeper blue color on the horizon and sort of pinky colors that are going up into your lighter blues up higher. That strip of deeper blue that you can see on the horizon is the Earth's shadow, which I reckon is really cool when you think about it like that, that you are standing literally in the shadow of the Earth. So the sun has dipped below the horizon, and the Earth is casting a shadow in its own atmosphere.
Yeah.
Now, what that can lead to is a blue tone to your photos, and it's incredibly atmospheric. It's quite soothing, I find.
Yeah.
And it's different. And I have always said to people when you're doing landscapes, like I think we mentioned this last week, is once the sun goes down, the show ain't over.
No.
So I have quite often used blue hour to my advantage, even to shoot the exact same scene that I just shot when it was all lit up, because it's night and day, the difference.
Yeah,
pardon the pun.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, good pun. Yeah, 100%. And I did a few shots up in the Flinders Range. I actually found the weather up there was amazing, and we had a lot of blue hour. So we had these beautiful sunrises and sunsets, but the 30 minutes or so before and after were exactly like this. I had night after night of this sort of color. In morning, every morning, same thing. So, I think it's really important that people understand that, like I said, the golden hour it's almost drilled home to every landscape workshop you go to, that, you've got to shoot in the golden hour. That's the best time of the afternoon or best time of the morning. But to me, it's a complete thing. If you're going out to shoot a sunrise, well, again, it goes back to what we said last week. Give yourself the time to get to your location, or scout it the night before or the day before, but get out there well in advance. So even if you are sitting in your car waiting for something to happen, or if you're, waiting in a tent or whatever you might be doing, get yourself out there and get ready. And I'll put my hand up. I'm the worst sunrise person in the world. I hate getting up for sunrises. I don't know why. I'm a photographer. And, but when you can sort of almost guarantee that you're going to get color like that behind us, that extra 15 minutes getting your bum out of bed, and just getting there. And again, it's one of those fleeting moments as well. Like I noticed with these shots, and I took a sequence of shots for this hill behind us here, that there's, out of the 15, 20 minutes of that blue hour that we had there's about 2 shots that give you that really spot on color. The rest of them are either too dark, or although that gradient of color you're talking about, it's only there for maybe 5 minutes, and then it starts either getting too bright or too dark, depending what time of the day it is. So fleeting moments and being prepared, and like I said, hang around before and after.
Yeah, definitely. And the beauty of the sunset is that the blue hour sort of gets better. The sun will go down, and then the blue hour gets better and better. And this ties in nicely with what we were talking about earlier, which was tripods, because it's going to be low light. You're going to need your tripod to shoot.
That's right.
Blue hour, because obviously a lot less light is available, so your shutter speed will go down and down.
These are 2-second exposure behind me at f/22. I was shooting these at.
And I have seen the TIFF file from that.
Yeah, I've sent that to you.
You have, and there is detail and sharpness in the tiny grass of the grass tree Xanthorrhea behind you, all the way to the mountain ranges in the distance.
The other way.
So there you go. That's what shooting at such high aperture numbers can deliver, is an incredible depth of field, we call it. I hate that term, by the way, depth of field. It should be depth of focus. When you're dealing with beginners in particular, and you talk about depth of field, if you say depth of focus, they tend to get it a lot quicker. As to what you mean.
And I think when you say depth of field, and then you try and relate that to how the aperture 100% controls that depth of field and aperture just don't work together.
That's right.
But if you can put depth of focus or depth of sharpness, or that's a photography term straight away, even though field is a term. People don't use it as a term to describe sharpness and depth of focus. But it's a tricky one. That's one of those big ones at workshops where people rock up. It's like, I understand aperture, but what the hell is depth of field? How do I explain that? And,
that's right. Exactly. One other little thing about blue hour as well. Blue hour works really well down south where we are. And the reason for that is, particularly where I'm located, is because quite often I can get down to the beach and there is no foreground subject bar the actual ocean or the waves that are rolling in.
Yeah.
So I rely a lot on color gradient in the sky.
Yeah.
And when you're facing south down here, and of course the sun sets out to the west. So normally if I'm facing the beach, the sun's setting off to my right-hand side, the sun's gone down.
Mm-hmm.
It's still quite bright out there. But if you turn 90 degrees and you look straight offshore, you can start to see that beautiful blue hour color coming in.
Yeah.
And again, the color gradients you get from the deep blues through all those beautiful magentas, and then into the deep blue skies, you start to look up, and you might even sneak in a few stars here or there as well.
Yeah.
It really does add a new dimension to your photography if you're prepared to, give up on just that hero sunset shot and start to face your camera away from the light.
Yeah. Well, that second file I sent to you the other day, the one of the windmill and the mountain range there,
which is magically appearing on the screen before our very eyes.
Maybe, yes. I consciously, because I wanted to go, I was out there scouting shots, and I wanted to scout and do some astro shots to show that's what we'll do when we're up there. Awesome. And I've got an astro shot from that exact same location, but exactly that scenario that you just said about the blue sky and the blue hour and stars coming out. I've actually got a shot that I'm going to work on where I reckon I've got the mountain range being lit up by that blue hour, the windmill and the Milky Way core faintly in the background, but it is blue hour. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes you'll get those stars in the sky, and I think we said it last time, we'll probably say it a million times going forward, is you don't leave until it's dark. And sometimes when it's dark, something else happens, like the Milky Way pops up.
That's exactly right.
Where we are, we get auroras in the southern aurora. So
well, obviously we'll talk about astro as we go on as well in podcasts to come. And
I think that's episode 53,
possibly. And I need to sit and listen to that episode because I have not shot a lot of astro, and it's an area that I've very, very vaguely dabbled in. I know how to do it. I don't know, just for one reason or another, the desire hasn't been there to do it, I guess. So, but it's something that I'll get into down the track as well. A lot of photographers are very, very much into their astrophotography these days. And I dare say I would put that down to the digital revolution because shooting astro now is a lot easier than it was when you're shooting film.
Hell yeah.
I have no doubt. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, cool.
Now, moving right along as well, we also want to do a little bit of gear talk because our good friends over at Olympus have had an announcement of a brand new landscape lovers lens. There's no doubt that they made it for us, Cam. That's 100% true.
Well, I think it's even got our names written on it somewhere, I'm sure. No.
I think it has. And it's the Canon 8-25 f4 Pro lens. Canon? What did I just say?
You said Canon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to say, when you said it's got our names on the side, I was going to say Cameron, and then it just came out Canon.
We're not editing that out. We're going to leave that in.
Oh, that's staying in.
That's the biggest plug for Canon they'll get all year, I reckon.
For who?
For Canon. You just gave Canon a plug. Anyway, yeah.
Olympus, the brand new Olympus 8-25 f4 Pro lens, of course, based around Olympus's Micro Four Thirds system, which I know Canon. There it is again. I know Cameron is a fan of.
Yep.
Cameron.
Do you want me to take over?
What is in this cup?
I was going to say, what's in your cup there? That's not coffee.
So the brand new 8-25 f4 Pro lens, and over to you, Cameron.
Beautiful. All right. Yes, it's the Olympus 8-25 f4 Pro. So I actually got my hands on one of these, not from Olympus Australia, but from some other contacts I have. And this is actually a lens I didn't realize I wanted it, but it's the sort of lens that I've been asking for a while. So the lens that I used to like a hell of a lot was the Olympus 7, the 14 Pro lens, which is an ultra wide thing. And I don't shoot really huge, wide open, wide angle shots, but I like to have that extra bit of width when I do some of the accentuated foreground shots I do. But the one thing I found with the 7-14 f4 Pro lens, amazing lens, sharp as a tack, beautiful lens, all weatherproof. You could use it anywhere you wanted to. The biggest thing for me was it didn't have a front filter thread on it, so you couldn't actually put a circular polarizer on that we mentioned before. But you could buy filter kits for it and stuff like that, and it just became this, a small lens became this big apparatus with these big lens filters on the end of it. So Olympus have brought out this I'll try and put it in front of there, 8 to 25 f4. In regards to, I guess, the 7 to 14, that's the 7 to 14 there. And this one it's a little bit shorter. If that makes sense. We'll probably do a bit of better comparison on maybe the notes or something. It's a little bit shorter. It's definitely a lot lighter, but it's got a filter thread on the front of it.
Bingo.
So to me, for the difference of 1 mil from 7 to 8 as the widest focal length, having that on the front, this will be my landscape lens, probably my Astro lens going forward. So I found that I was actually pushing myself away from the 7 to 14 and using the 12 to 40 Pro lens that they have as well, because I just couldn't get that filter on the front. And I'm so driven on having that circular polarize on the front. But so yeah, this is I haven't even put a shot through it yet. I was hoping I'd have it before I went to the Flinders Ranges, but I didn't get it. But I will put some shots on it the next couple of weeks, and we might put some up on our Facebook page and show people what it looks like. But it's the same as always expected. It's full weatherproofing, which I love about the Olympus lenses. You can use it in rain, you can use it out in the snow, you can use it in dust, you can use it down the beach. They are amazingly robust in what they do. I've got no doubt the quality of image will be spectacular as always. Their lenses are always beautifully sharp and just render images really well. Yeah, it's not much. It's a little bit lighter than the 7 to 14. It's a little bit smaller, but it just gives you that option to put filters on. So I'm really excited. It does have a bit of a different way of, it zooms out, it clicks out, and then it so it doesn't actually, but then you just lock it back in, which I'll get used to. But so it will stand out a bit on the end of your camera. It's got the same manual focus ring down there that you drop down to do manual focus, which is awesome. You've also got the function button there. You can actually customize that button there.
I think that focus ring clutch on the front of those lenses was an absolute revolution. A brilliant idea, and just so quick and easy to switch between auto and manual focus. Very cool. Really cool.
That's the one thing. Like I shoot on a couple of brands. I do a bit of work for Olympus Australia. I do sort of workshops and Olympus days for them, and I have a really good relationship with them, and they're amazingly supportive for what I want to do. I also use a Fuji camera as well, but I always find with the Olympus stuff, you sort of go back. I always go back to them. I'm like, geez, these cameras are good. They just do what they're meant to do. There's plenty of bells and whistles, but they're just what they are. They just work really well. So, and they've always been innovative. I can't even say that word.
Innovative.
That's the word. Is that a word? It is.
That'll do.
Innovative. That's the word. So that, like I said, that focus clutch ring you're talking about is amazing. The weatherproofing's, that's class leading. Image stabilizer. That's what we're talking about tripods before. I actually did some shots on the Tarkon a few weeks ago, handheld 2-second exposures without a tripod in there, pin sharp. So maybe I don't need a tripod going forward. Don't know.
I've actually tried the image stabilization system on Olympus as well, and it is fabulous. Like, there's no question, it's amazing. But still, for me, I think it's a good habit to stay in with your tripod. I mean, you're not going to do a 10-second exposure handheld.
No, you're not. But I have seen 10-second Milky Way exposures with them anyway. But that's but that's out now. That one is available now. Retails, I think they're retailing for about $1,400-ish. Give or take.
Pretty reasonable.
It's pretty reasonable. And like I said, that's an 8 to 25 on a Micro Four Thirds. So that's the equivalent of a 16 to 50 f4. So quite a versatile lens. And compared to the bigger brands, weight-wise, it's a great little travel lens. Be perfect. So that's it there.
No, very nice piece of kit, mate. And it was a bit of a bonus that you happened to receive yours today while we were recording the podcast, and I had already mentioned that we wanted to talk about Olympus's new 8 to 25 f4 Pro. So good timing. Good timing, mate. This is normally the part of the podcast where we hand ourselves over to the Dear Cam segment. However, we haven't received a Dear Cam this week. I'm a bit disappointed in that, but that's okay.
I'm not feeling the love, guys.
What we'll do is we'll use this couple of minutes to promote the fact that we run this segment called Dear Cam. And Dear Cam is a segment where you write in or put a little question, a comment below the video, or you can, soon you'll be able to email us. We still haven't got an email address up and running yet, but we'll get there. But you can send us smoke signals, or you can text, or whatever you do these days to get a message to us.
Yep.
Why not? It'll get stuck at the border.
Maybe.
where it's basically Dear Cam, and you can ask anything. Cameron doesn't know exactly which question I'm going to choose, so we spring it on him. Yeah. But as I say, this week, no Dear Cam, but that's cool.
We'll
fine. Get there. I'm sure we'll get one next week.
They're just trying to muster up the best question of all time just to see if they can throw me.
Well, that's exactly right. So just we're pretty close to time here tonight. So what we'll do is I'll just like to mention one more time that cameraandphoto.com.au is where you go if you want to get information about my upcoming workshops. There is a mailing list you can join on the workshops page. So go ahead and join away if you want to. The actual dates will be announced very, very soon. And I feel like a broken record because I know there's listeners to this podcast that I've been saying that to now for 18 months. But of course, we know what world we live in at the moment. And so thanks very much for your patience. But it's looking more and more likely.
It'll be worth the wait.
100%, mate. 100%. It will be. If we get to a point where I can't run them this year, I am going to be forced to have to start doing a lot more via Zoom, but which I did dabble in last year, and it was relatively successful. Of course, there's a lot of limitations with Zoom. No, I can't exactly reach into your computer screen and handle your camera, so that can make things a little bit tricky. But so I just thought I'd mention again that my workshops are making a comeback. And Cameron, what would you like to talk about?
So I've still got again. This all depends on what's going on currently with COVID around the place, but I've still got a few spots left for my Tarkine workshop at the end of July. You can go to tazphoto.com.au to find all the details. Again, we're sort of just hanging on by a thread to see what happens in regards to COVID and whether or not people can travel. I've got a few people already for my Cradle Mountain workshop in August that are in New South Wales and Queensland who are getting a bit nervy, which is fair enough. So that workshop's going ahead, hopefully. But anything else, you can check the website out. We'll put it all in the show notes. And let's just hope the next few days things start to settle down a bit and move back in the right direction.
Yeah, look, it'll be really good. And once again, just to reiterate to everyone around Australia that's in lockdown at the moment, our thoughts are with you. Hopefully we'll be able to get through this circuit breaker lockdown session as quickly as possible and everything get back to a little bit of normality and you can get out there and start taking more landscape photos. So I think that's about it for this week. Cam, you got anything exciting coming up this week, mate?
No, I'm sort of going to be in the same basket as the rest of Australia. I'm going to determine whether or not I go home. Yes. My wife and children are meant to be coming over here later this week. We're meant to be having a couple of weeks holiday up here, but we're not sure what we're going to do there. So I'm just going to play it by ear. I might even come down and see you in the next few days at the shop and say g'day.
Wouldn't that be scary?
It would be scary. Maybe we can do a coffee or something like that. But yeah, I'll be around for the next few days. So just going to I've had a few big days for driving, so I might just have a few early nights and take it easy, I think.
Nice work, Granddad. You do that.
I feel like a granddad.
All right, Cam, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for joining us on the Down South Photo Show podcast, and we will catch you next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.